Okay, I'm live. I know nobody was expecting this. Not nor was I, to be perfectly honest with you. Just going to make sure that everything's going good over on the Rumble and YouTube and X and all that stuff. Anyways, folks, I was planning on going live on Jason Levine's show, but there was some confusion. Actually, there was the start time was actually changed around a few times, and I don't know what happened. I did have multiple messages and have been having quite a few different conversations in message form with other people that I've been doing live streams, or some of the live streams are going to be doing with other people. So it might have just got lost in the mix and I didn't see it. Probably my fault, I would imagine. But anyways, so yeah, it's not going to happen. We'll reschedule. Don't worry about that. We'll reschedule. But in the meantime, I was like, well, geez, I might as well go ahead and do some kind of a live stream because um, I've been trying to get some traction in terms of the whole thing with this Mark Carney and the Outsider thing is like, what the fuck are you talking about, Outsider? Where did this come from, right? Like, and I've been trying to plaster it all over X and on Facebook and Minds and a lot of the other social media pages and platforms that I use, just to see how much traction. Yeah, I'm just looking, so it's okay over on Rumble. But yeah, I'm having serious issues getting some traction here, and that's another thing with X. I don't know what the hell is going on with X lately, but I'm being treated like a bot. So even if I just reply or put out my own post and I go to hit post, it'll say like, this seems to be automated. Try again later. It's like, well, no, I'm not automated. I'm real. And not only am I real, I pay for fucking premium plus. So I had to give ID and a phone number and all. It's like, is there really no way for you to prove it? And that's another thing. They have this thing every once in a while that'll show up and say, to prove that you're not a bot, that you're not automated, it'll say add a phone number. So I'll go click on that, and then it'll just take me straight to an error page. And I've tried reaching out to support on X. No replies there whatsoever. But because I'm paying for premium, I put at premium, and I submitted the screenshots and the report there. And the only reply I got looked like one of those automated responses, which is saying, if your account has been suspended or whatever, but basically it's like, I didn't say my account was suspended. It's being messed with. It's being restricted in some way, but no, it's not suspended. And I'm not getting any reply back from that. So I don't know what the hell is going on, but I definitely suspect there's still some political actors within X, or at least people are still actively trying to suppress or silence voices like myself. The voices that you will get out there nowadays, as you can see, front and center and no restrictions whatsoever, is everyone playing the left versus right game, the Republican versus Democrat, the liberal versus conservative. As long as your mind is still stuck in the left-right paradigm, no matter how extreme your views are, you're okay. But if you're a libertarian, an anarchist, a voluntarist, someone who's willing to think and function outside of the system, you're still not allowed. You still got to sit at the little kids' table, right? You're still not allowed at the big table. And why that is because the minute you're allowed the big table and you start saying what you have to say, I start saying what I have to say. Well, everyone else, all the status among us, all the status with status, well, their status gets a severe fucking downgrade once people have heard what I've got to say, right? That's the thing. Oh, it's easy to talk smack when it's, like WWE style or WW whatever the hell, or like a mixed martial art battle, or it's us versus them, or it's a hockey game, right? But in reality, it's not a matter of that. It's not a matter of, you just got to get the right political party or the right politician in power, as you folks know. But once again, we're not allowed to talk about that stuff. Your mind still has to be stuck in the quagmire of picking from the lesser of evils, right? That's where it's got to be. Actually, that was a lot of the stuff that I was kind of hoping to talk to Jason Levine about, because this is something that's really important and obviously on the front minds of a lot of Canadians. But I just wanted to point out, and I'll bring up X here, but I'm seeing it everywhere, and not just from the people in the media, but even people that are conservatives or anti-Trudeau types. I'm seeing it too much. And once again, I'm not hating on people. I'm just saying you're not properly educating and informing your audience. And if you're not doing that, at some point in time, your audience will come to realize that you fucking manipulated them for your own political goals. And well, hopefully you suffer the consequences at some point in time for doing so. But hey, who cares? Nobody wants to listen to my opinion and perspective for the most part when it comes to that stuff. So hey, learn the hard way like everyone else has to, right? But I mean, look at this. Let me bring this up. Present. And I know probably not many people going to be able to get a chance to see this. I get it because it's such short notice. But actually, before I do, let me just double check. I'm just going to making sure at least let everyone know on X that I'm live, and maybe a few people will trickle in, get a chance to check this out. Why not? Right? Why not? Just for the hell of it. What will we call this one? Flash live stream. Sorry for I'll just put it. Whatever. That's good enough. Flash live stream. Hopefully people will see it. Hopefully people will get a chance to see it. Actually, I might as well bookmark that to my my live stream folder. Man, I've got a lot of bookmarked folders. It's insane. I got a lot of I know I just go nuts on stuff. It's all or nothing, baby. Go big or go home. Yeah, that's kind of my motto. It's kind of my motto. But anyways, let me close that up. Actually, let me go back to profile, make sure that showed up. Yep. So yeah, I'm live there, folks. I am live. Actually, let me check on the old YouTube, make sure it's going to. Why not? And hey, thanks for you folks that have, maybe trickled on or stumbled onto my live stream there, right? I appreciate that. It's good to know that I'm not at least just talking to myself. Okay. Oh, what's this? A Peter Thiel thing. I'll have to put this in the old watch history. All right. Good. Peter Thiel. He's a good guy to listen to. Very smart guy. So what was I looking for? Oh yeah, go to my channel. Make sure it is actually, I'm live stream now. Look at that. There it is. Yep. Okay, folks, it's all good to go, and I'm going to be obviously watching for the chats in this one because it's just me all by my little lonesome. But yeah, let me bring up this share screen, and we will go to. This is just one example. I might actually draw up a few of them. Why not? Why the hell not? Right? And yeah, hey, Jason Levine, if you get a chance to see this, yes. Sorry about the miscommunication. I don't know how the hell I overlooked that you reshared afterwards that it was supposed to be tonight, not this morning. But I would just say if I had noticed that, actually probably could have clarified that, yeah, it's starting a live stream at like 9 p.m. That's not, yeah. And considering they typically go a couple hours, yeah, that's not, I don't usually live stream that late at night anyway. So if I had it realized, I would have clarified that. But anyways, we'll get it sorted out and we'll do this at some point in time. Not a big deal. Ooh, maybe all that extra buildup and anticipation will actually increase the audience. I kid. Hey, man can hope, right? But anyways, let me just check. Like I say, show this to you folks here. Okay, let's play it. So actually, let me just Stephen Taylor here shared this, and I follow Stephen Taylor. He's a conservative as far as I'm concerned, but he puts out some good stuff. I mean, that's the thing, right? Share a lot in common especially with conservatives in terms of being against Trudeau or the liberals, right? That we share a lot in common. The problem is the solutions and the answers to the problems, right? That's usually when we run into some disagreements here. But anyway, so digital campaign manager, conservative, building the movement and party online. So obviously an unapologetic conservative, and hey, good for them, good for him. Got nothing against that. But I mean, here's the thing. Mark Carney is the ultimate liberal insider. Chrystia Freeland calls him Godfather and consulted him regularly as finance minister. But like I've been pointing out, right, which I find just hilarious, is and I'll bring this up for you folks as well, is actually guess who appointed Mark Carney as the governor of the Bank of Canada back when he came to power. Yeah, that was Stephen Harper. And Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013. Think about that time frame. Yeah. During and after the financial crisis, right? And yeah, Mark Carney, the appointee of Stephen Harper is the guy that actually, because he's the governor of the central bank, him and Harper together were the ones that forced Canadian taxpayers to bail out the big banks. And yeah, if you're a younger Canadian, let me just say this right now. If you're a younger Canadian looking to get in the housing market, then look no further than big government and the central bank as to who the culprits are who've been making things much more expensive and further out of reach for you in terms of getting yourself into a home these days, right? That is a fact. And even the Bank of Canada and basically any central banker will tell you that, yes, it's monetary policy, which is directly controlled by the Bank of Canada. And, with some, even though it's supposed to be independent, as we know, because politicians appoint them, not really as independent as they claim, are they, right? And I mean, considering the Bank of Canada is an act of legislation, which means government created the Bank of Canada. And if you create an entity, well, you probably have control of it, right? So anyways, but beyond that, it's just so hilarious how they're talking about Carney as this insider and this like big time liberal. And sure, he may very well be. But this is the thing with people in Canada, that what they don't realize, or at least a lot of them, is right, liberal and conservative, very, 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 very small bit of difference between the two. I mean, come on. There's a reason why. I mean, if you think about it, and I've showed the pictures with Carney and Harper. Once again, not just shaking hands. Harper appointed him. And then, of course, Trudeau. It's a big old gang, folks. You're not part of it. They are. And Canadians have this weird thing where it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get an outsider and this Carney guy. And it's like, and the fact that he's a liberal. Well, now he's part of the establishment. Always has been, always will be. And not only is he part of the establishment, but as a lot of people are aware of, he's a big time climate change advocate and a WEF member, right? He's all about not just central planning in terms of in our own country, but global type of governance and central planning. So he's a globalist in addition to being the guy that's directly responsible for the pain and suffering of millions and millions of, actually not just younger Canadians, but primarily younger Canadians. Anyways, let me just play this here for a little bit.
In the case of Mark Carney, he is going to use that, I would anticipate, and you could hear it in the vernacular last night when he called himself an outsider, right? He's going to try to position himself as an outsider versus the ultimate insider in Chrystia Freeland. But what exactly from a policy perspective will they do to differentiate themselves? They're good friends. Chrystia Freeland was talking about how good friends they were in the summer and how much she consulted him as finance minister, and that her son is even, that he's godfather to her son. Like, those are the words that she used in the summer. So from a policy perspective, are they really going to be able to differentiate themselves very much? And then ultimately, if Carney is successful in selling the message that he is an outsider to liberals, I think he will have a tougher time doing that, facing off against conservatives who are at the ready to throw money at the idea that he is, in their view, anything but. In the case of Mark Carney, he is going,
which is hilarious. Anything, but it's funny. Let me get to this this other. Actually, yeah. Let me stop sharing here for now. But I wanted to show you this other post that I actually shared a little bit earlier, or was replying to, I should say, a little bit earlier. Let's see here. Where is that? But it is quite astounding to see how this is all being portrayed by, the lying hacks in the media and the political class, right? The pundit class. Where does he go? Yeah, here it is. So here, let me bring this back on. Actually, it's another post actually by the same guy, Stephen Taylor. So actually, yeah, let me bring this back on. But it's just so funny because this is an actual conservative. like nothing like omitting. But anyways, okay, let's get this. There we go. So listen to this.
Listen, let me just say that he's as much an outsider as I am an outsider. This guy's been the Trudeau whisperer since 2020. And before that, he's been in his ear on COVID. He was part of Building Back Better. He chairs an economic task force. I think they wanted to replace both Morneau and Chrystia Freeland with them. As we'd say in Cape Breton, butter wouldn't melt in this guy's mouth. He is not an outsider. It's a valiant effort to claim that he is one in order to paint a different narrative. But the proof is in the pudding. And don't equate just the fact that you don't have a high public profile to the ordinary Canadian voter as being an outsider, because people are going to see right through that. Listen, let me just say that he's as much an outsider.
She listed off lots of things, this conservative lady. And, I don't pay enough attention to actually like insider politics shit that I would know if this lady, but something tells me, I'm going to make an assumption here and suggest if she's been in politics any amount of time, she probably was actually in the Harper government, right? When Stephen Harper was in power, and she probably very much well aware and was part and parcel of the whole pomp and circumstance of actually Harper appointing Mark Carney as the governor of the Bank of Canada, right? But she was blasting him for all of his associations or ties with the Liberals, but mum's the word, not a word in terms of, well, hey, he was actually with us at one point in time, right? No. Once again, there's lying. And then there's omitting facts, which basically it almost equates the same thing when you talk about this stuff, when you talk about politics, right? Because these people are trying to pretend that like they were the ones that are against Mark Carney and stuff. And meanwhile, they were probably sat there, no doubt, just like with the Nazi guy in the thing. They probably, all of them, the Trudeau Liberals, the Conservatives, they probably all, yay, Mark Carney. Oh, good for you. Applause. Maybe even, who knows? He might have even got a standing ovation, right? So, but now they're going to pretend, because he's because he's a liberal now, right? Or identifies as a liberal. Right? He puts that's part. Is that part of his pronouns or something? Anyways, now all of a sudden they're like, they're so against the guy, but they were probably big fans of him when they were part of their team, when he was part of their team, which to me, as a Canadian, as a genuine outsider, when you talk about politics, right? Genuinely. And I so far outside that, it's even hard. I got to put the glass on just to see these fuckers. But seriously though, it's just another perfect and classic example of, whether you're talking about the Liberals, the New Democrats, or the Conservatives, they're all part of the establishment, folks, right? And sure, they put on a little bit of, a little bit of a like WWE style of fucking, it's us versus them. Like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to get pumped up, man. Fuck them Liberals. Fuck them Conservatives, man. Fuck them NDP. Meanwhile, the minute you turn your back, just like with fucking Chrétien and fucking Bob Ray and NDP Liberal, they're all like circle jerking each other and all hugging and singing Kumbaya together, right? So it's a big old club, folks, but you're not part of it. And to pretend that you are, that's a really strange thing that I've seen. It's weird. That's the thing with team sports and tribalism. It's, man, your brain just, I don't know what the hell it does to your brain, but does something. Anyways, let me bring that back off. But how nuts is that, right? How nuts is that we're talking about? Hey, I see I got a comment there. What's going on, Enzo Gar? Hello. Are you questioning that you're saying hello, or are you genuinely saying hello? Just kidding. But hello to you, and thanks for joining the stream. I know it's really quick and just off the cuff kind of stuff here. But anyways, thanks for joining the live stream. And for those of you, I do see there's some more folks that have trickled in there. And thanks for joining this live stream. Like I say, I was supposed to be going on the Jason Levine show this morning. I messed up. I thought it was this morning. It was actually supposed to be late tonight. And there's a conflict in terms of our scheduling. So we'll have to reschedule. Well, no big deal. We'll get her done. Actually, I should mention too, for you folks, another interview that I'm going to be having, it'll be live streamed on my own channel, so pay attention for that stuff on all my own channels, I should say, is with Bruce Party, and that's going to be on the 26th. Let me just double check here. January 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern, so that'd be 2 p.m. Atlantic time, and then just work from there, whatever time zone you're in, because it's go 1 hour back for each time zone as you go out west. But anyway, so that'll be on the 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Really looking forward to that. And And like I say, it's going to be something that's going to, I think, be a rather enlightening conversation, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. I really suspect it will be, because Bruce is a smart guy, very articulate with his thoughts, and he's put out some great posts. And actually, I'll probably be referencing a couple of his posts that he put out on X and stuff like that in terms of when we're having our actual conversation. But it's going to be good. So hopefully you folks will be available for that and get a chance to check it out. Like I say, in the meantime, though, let me go back over here to X and get back to the Mark Carney thing. Let me just go back to my bookmarks to the liberal leadership race thing. I'm just going to bring this up here, actually, where I put, if I still have that. Actually, it would probably be, yeah, here it is, right here. So I'll bring this up. Yeah, let me bring it on, just for you folks that maybe didn't get a chance to see it. Present, share. Okay. So let me just make sure. Yeah, it's all good over there. It's all good in the hood. So as you can see, look at that. There's Harper and Carney. And this is a post I put, and it's not getting any traction, which is so weird. So weird. I'll get some posts, and it's funny how that works. Some posts, or like a repost, like a retweet or repost, they call them now, or other things, and it'll get relatively decent traction. But then stuff like this, once again, is like nothing. One like, and it's only been seen by 66 people since. And I mean, I pay for Premium Plus, so my posts are supposed to be able to get seen, right? More than people who don't pay, right? But I mean, this is going, this is since yesterday, and it's gotten a whole 66 views with one like. Anyways, but I find this stuff highly strange, right? And highly suspicious, to be honest, but I'm just going to kind of go with this. But anyways, so there it is, like you see, and here's how I had posted it. I find all this newfound love for Mark Carney by liberals to be quite ironic, considering it was Stephen Harper, their supposed arch nemesis. Because that's the thing, if you're a liberal or a liberal supporter, the minute Stephen Harper name brought up, they bring out the knives, right? It's like just the viciousness. So they seemingly loathe, or at least that's how they put on, that's the pretense, is they loathe Stephen Harper, the liberals, right? But it was appointed the guy that they're now looking as their golden child, their newfound leader of the little party that's going to save them. So strange. Who appointed the guy governor of the Bank of Canada? It was Harper and Carney that imposed the bank bailouts, which sustained the massive housing market bubble after the financial crisis of 2007-08. If you're a younger Canadian who can't afford to buy a home, you can thank all three of the main parties for propping it up all these years. And that's the thing. People are really pissed off and angry at Trudeau, which of course he made it worse by ramping up mass immigration and maintaining that kind of top-down control over the economy, just like Harper and them did, right? Yes, it has made things worse. So yes, Trudeau and the Trudeau Liberals have made things worse. But there would be nothing to make worse, or it would be much more or profoundly more difficult to make things as worse as they have if it wasn't for the fact that the Harper Conservatives, with Mark Carney at the helm of the Bank of Canada, bailed out the banks. And I've had people fucking comment and replying, and you're liars or you're woefully ill-informed if you think that, it was just a minor thing and Canadians got paid back or some shit. No, first of all, if you read the report, and I've linked that to all, like if you follow my content, that you can find the bank bailout stuff, because I've promoted it and put it out there so many times. It's almost like habit for me now, right? But yeah, one of the banks, I believe, I might be wrong if it was Royal Bank, but one of the banks was bailed out to the tune of, if you bought every share in the bank, the bailout was actually cost more than if you bought every share in the bank. I think it was to the tune of 1.5. So as if you bailed out the entire bank and then recapitalize it with another half of what it was worth. That's how bad it was. 114 billion back then. And you got to remember, because of inflation, billions of dollars, 1 billion isn't worth the same as it was in 2025 that it was in 2007, 2008, right? But so take all this into account. These banks were bailed out to the tune, and we were forced to bail them out. And once again, because of those bailouts, rather than what the U.S. had to do, where they went through some kind of housing market correction mechanism, which actually brought the prices down substantially or by a high degree, a high margin for Americans. So a lot of their people, the younger people, could get into homes. That didn't happen in Canada, even though the Canadian government and the central bank forced us to bail out all of the big banks. At least the Americans only bailed out, what was it, Lehman Brothers or a couple of them? But no, we were forced to bail out all 6 of the big banks. And rather than allowing for some kind of market correction as a consequence or a result, no, Canadians, the bigwigs, the central planners, who themselves probably have a lot of investment properties and didn't want to see that particular kind of housing market bubble popped, well, they sustained it entirely. No reprieve for Canadians whatsoever. No reprieve and no chance in hell for younger Canadians to get a chance to get into the housing market at a much, much lower price point. Nope, that wasn't allowed to happen. And once again, that started back under Harper and has continued ever since under the Trudeau Liberals. So make no mistake about this, folks. There are no saviors from the establishment parties. There are none. Now, do I not see the writing on the wall and that Pierre Poilievre is probably going to form government, or most likely? I mean, barring some insane thing, and I don't know how the Liberals and the NDP, maybe, I don't know, something strange could really happen where they might be able to reform government again. I don't know. But for the most part, anyone that's paying attention looks like the Harper Conservatives, I mean, Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives, right? You're going to get them in power. And yeah, for a little while, you might get a little bit of reprieve. But make no mistake, nobody's looking to unwind the behemoth of the state that is Canada's government, federal and provincial, right? None of that is happening under the watch or the stewardess of any of these established parties. That is a fact. That is a fact. Sorry, folks, I hate to say it. But anyways, just so for anyone that's saying, oh, I don't know if what's Bennett's saying is true, well, just take your time. There it is right there. All you got to do is Google it, right? Or use whatever search engine you want. But there it is. Mr. Carney was appointed governor of the Bank of Canada effective 1st February 2008 for a term of 7 years. Who appointed Carney to Bank of Canada? Well, Mark Carney, 8th governor of the Bank of Canada, in office February 1st, 2008 to June 3rd, 2013, appointed by Stephen Harper. Yep, Stephen Harper. So, yeah, facts. And, of course, there's a picture of Trudeau with Carney. Like I say, it's a big old gang, folks. But, yeah, you're not in it. You're not in it. You are most certainly not in it. Anyways, let me scroll back here. I'm just going to look at some of this liberal leadership stuff that I can be referencing. Yeah, so here's another perfect example of the establishment, right? I mean, you can call them the lib cons, but you have to include the Democrats, NDP, in there. So it's really hard to make a term stick for them. But anyways, like I say, it's all about the establishment. And here's an example of, let me see. Can you see the Warren Kinsella? Yeah, there we go. You can see it. Just wanted to make sure you folks can see it. So this is a Warren Kinsella post. And no, I don't follow him. I find the guy's a complete fucking idiot, to be honest with you. But look, this is perfect. Read Chrétien's op-ed, then this. Harper's interview. Both men are desperately needed now. So this is a guy, like I say, who I don't care about what his political affiliation is. To be honest with you, I really, really don't. But this just goes to show that this is the kind of guy that would, support the establishment, regardless of which side it comes from. Really, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. There's the establishment. The true divide in this country are those who are part and parcel or support the establishment and everyone else, right? But I mean, the fact that you're talking about Harper and Chrétien, right? This guy's agreeing with both of them. And why? Because, once again, to them, the most important thing is to protect the status quo and the establishment from Trump, who's trying to disrupt the status quo and the establishment. So they will both come together. And you will actually see that happen in Canada in terms of the establishment, that Trump will actually rally the troops. Some people who are strange bedfellows, but they will jump back in bed with each other, right, to defend and maintain the status quo. Make no mistake about that. And you're going to see that play out as everything unfolds in terms of Trump and the tariff threat. Okay, actually, let me bring off the. We'll just stop sharing there for now, and see what else we got. Oh, and then of course there was another video with Gerald Butts and Mark Carney shooting the breeze. What else we got here? Of course, picture of Carney over there with Xi Jinping. What else we got? But yeah, Carney the Outsider. That is hilarious. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, I think that's good, right? Here's another one. I am part of her movement. PM's COP26 advisor Mark Carney hails Greta Thunberg. So Mark's a big fan of Greta Thunberg. Oh, and that's another thing, by the way. Yeah, all of the major big banks have thrown Mark Carney under the bus now that Trump's in power, and all of his big initiatives in terms of climate change and the climate scam, right? Yeah, I expect a lot of that's going to be put on hold, right? And yeah, actually, I wanted to play this. Let me play this because the only reason why they're even saying anything even slightly negative towards Carney at this particular point in time, this is someone from CBC, is because Carney, think about it. Where did he go to launch his fucking campaign bid, right? I mean, the official launch is supposedly going to be in Edmonton, but really, no, the true official launch, genuinely, if you think about it, is where he went and actually said that he was going to run, and where he went to try to seek some attention and get the pulse of the nation was in the U.S. on an American channel, on an American television talk show. Was it Jon Stewart? And I'm sure that probably did piss the hacks at the CBC off that he did that, right? But anyways, let me just bring that on. Because yeah, I found this kind of funny, a little entertaining. I mean, you might as well be entertained. Are you not entertained? Right? Right? Well, fucking Roman's burning. Nero's fiddling, and we're over here just having a laugh while we're eating our bread and watching circuses, I guess. But yeah, check this shit.
Janice, one name that we haven't yet mentioned is Mark Carney's, and there's nothing official from him. But did he just soft launch his campaign last night?
Yeah, he has not done any interviews with Canadian reporters for weeks now, but he did find time in his schedule to talk to Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. Take a watch.
A wild hypothetical. Let's say the candidate wasn't part of the government. Let's say the candidate did have a lot of economic experience. Let's say the candidate did deal with crises. Let's say the candidate had a plan to deal with the challenges in the here and now.
You sneaky, you're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
There's a bit of a trend now in Canadian politics to go on American shows that have a large Canadian audience to reach people who don't watch the news in this country. Carney is going to have to face Canadian reporters at his expected official launch for his leadership bid later this week.
So yeah, kind of hilarious, right? You can see they're a little frustrated that he just bypassed. Well, that's the thing. A lot of things happening, taking place these days, where a lot of the establishment, a lot of the institutions are definitely feeling threatened, and it's crazy how it's just all over the place. And well, it's not even crazy that it's all over the place. It's the fact that, like I say, these people are so inept and just so worried about and single-mindedly focused on getting theirs at everyone else's expense. They just don't pay enough attention to see actually what is transpiring and taking place. They don't even know how they come across to people like us, because they sit and function in their echo chambers. They just have no perception whatsoever just how out of touch they come across to people like you or I. It's mind-numbing, to be honest with you folks. But yeah, anyway, so let me just pop back over here and pull myself back up onto the checking out the comments here. Oh, I see, actually, nope, we're okay over here for the comments here. So everyone's just kind of sitting back and enjoying the stream, apparently. All right, that's cool. Oh, there was one thing actually I did want to bring up, and I'm going to read it. It's a long one. Hopefully I'll get through it all here, but I did find that it was, first of all, well written. Once again, just like the post from John Paul Berg. If you didn't check out my live streamed interview with him, just like I say, just look through my past live streams and you'll see it. That was a great conversation. Hopefully I'll get a chance to talk with him again at some point in time soon. That was a great post that we referenced and talked about from him, but we got another one here. Once again, let me bring this one up. This one is by Julius Ruechel. Ruechel. I don't know. It's French and I'm not very good with the French, but anyways, let me bring it up. Present. And this is as it pertains to the 51st state. Well, you know, the big story about the 51st state, you know, with Trump and his musings in terms of, you know, making Canada the 51st state. Although we all know what this is. Those of us who are intelligent enough to understand what's going on, we know what this is all about, right? The art of the deal. For everyone else, is like, oh, it's just driving them fucking insane and their brains running around in circles, right? They just don't know what to do. They're falling all over themselves. But anyways, this is obviously this guy was replying to, and I do follow Julius, right? Yes, I follow Julius. He's the author of Grass-Fed Cattle, Autopsy of a Pandemic, and Plunders of the Earth. You can also find him on Gab, Getter, and Minds at Julius. That's awesome. Minds. So if he's on Minds, he's got to be a pretty good dude. No, there's some great people over on Minds. Anyways, but obviously he was replying to, I would assume, Andrew Coyne with this. But we're just going to read his reply because, like I said, I thought it was very well written and articulated. Or, well, I guess it would be just well written in text form here. So, yeah, neither Mr. Coyne, Canada versus Trump is a false choice fallacy. My allegiance is to my family, my friends, and to my community to protect them from what Canada has become. Exactly. That's the thing with nationalism, right? Sounds good in theory and can give you that little bit of a warm feeling, but those of us who are intelligent enough to think critically about things is really what it comes down to the end of the day is priorities. And yeah, priorities for most sane people is, yeah, just like this person saying, family first, motherfucker. Family first. And then your friends, then your community. And then it kind of just keeps getting out further and further from that, right? Well, spouses, of course, but that would be considered family, right? So that's the thing. Putting this pretense that, oh, we're just supposed to what? Reach out and hold hands with people who literally want to destroy us. Actually, a lot of them would probably rather see us dead, right? People who want to plunder us, our economics, our wealth, our incomes relentlessly and want to socially control us and manipulate us to such a high degree, in such high amounts. How could I? This is the fucking insane thing. And I would even say within my own family, this is the fucking crazy part. Even within my own family, as much as I love family, and I mean, come on, folks. Oh, you like my MAG hat, by the way? Nice hat. Anyways, as you folks know, I'm all about family. But I'll also say that family, it encompasses a lot. But I have to clarify, I have to offer a little bit of nuance here and say, not all of my family do I have the same kind of close-knit relationship with or care to defend them or align with or associate in any way. There's some, like I say, who genuinely loathe me just for me being me and vice versa. So, no, you can't even use just terms like family, but I get where he's going here, right? In terms of priorities. But to pretend that anyone in this country gives a fuck about 41 million people or this pretense of we're all seeing, especially the way Trudeau and the people who have been run this country have been setting up and the kind of people they have been aligning themselves with. These are people who have no allegiances or loyalties to anyone other than themselves. I mean, Trudeau himself has said we're a post-nationalist state who has no core identity, which, you know, that's the thing. People getting mad at him. And I get pissed off hearing him going on with that stuff. But at the same time, in a way, he's fucking right. What does it mean to be Canadian? I'm actually, that's a kind of a thing I do nowadays. I ask people, what does it mean to be Canadian? What, like, distinctively, as in comparison or contrast to, let's say, being British or American? What is it? Like, please just explain it to me. And I've heard people say, oh, well, you just work hard and, you know, we're independent and self-reliant. It's like, that represents a lot of people. Matter of fact, that would represent, I would say, most people in the world today, and many times throughout history, or all times in history in the past, right? Like, just because people are self-reliant and have to take care of themselves for their own rational self-interest, right? Even if it is difficult, you do it to sustain yourself because you want to live, right? Fucking everybody does that, except for, I mean, what it's not, you can't attribute it to being a nation, right? Or a country. No, it's a mindset in terms of self-preservation, but it's not just a mindset. It's kind of part of the biology too, right? But anyways, let me continue on. Perhaps you don't understand how deeply we have been betrayed by our country and how thoroughly the government has obliterated the social contract between the government and the people. For that matter, can you even define what this thing called Canada is anymore, other than a tax and regulatory system that is plundering us at every turn? From my perspective, it looks a lot like government for the benefit of the governors and their friends, with us as voiceless serfs. What cultural values does Canada represent? What principles does it preserve? The border of a nation is a line where one culture stops and another begins. Can you identify what it is about being Canadian that you value so much, other than the fact that you're not American? Because let's admit it, folks, that's how a lot of people, especially progressives, right, in Canada these days, especially and particularly those on the left, is just, they're anti-American. They're anything but American. But once again, but what do you mean by that? What does it mean to be Canadian? Great question, right? Incidentally, I noticed in your Twitter profile that you have 4 flags. And this is so true about Andrew Coyne in your bio. Yeah, he has like a Ukraine flag. I can't remember which ones, but he has 4 flags and not one of them are Canadian. Meanwhile, he's a Canadian. Yet the flag in our post-national state, Canada, is not among them. What exactly is still worth defending about Canada? Do you seriously think this country is reformable when our voices and concerns are never represented in the debates happening inside Parliament? Exactly. That's the thing for people like us, the disenfranchised, the demoralized. Those of us who truly are on the outside, even though we've lived here and contributed most of the times, even against our will, but many times because I chose to voluntarily, willingly, but really hard to fucking feel like, oh, I love Canada, or I feel a sense of belonging when the people who have been ruling over me, running this country, have been treating me like garbage. And like I say, it's not just the Liberals, folks. It's all parties who represent the current, or who represent the status quo or the establishment. Really hard to feel all kumbaya and have any kind of unifying sentiment under those conditions. And further clobber me over the head with telling me that I'm wrong isn't a solution to that fucking particular problem. It's the antithesis of it, actually. And never represented in debate. Okay. Maybe you should watch a parliamentary session and tell me whether this is a country that gives serious consideration to the real concerns of its people. A kindergarten with 330 unsupervised children would be capable of producing more meaningful discussion. So fucking true. So fucking true. So true. And that's the thing. It's the lack of actual dialogue and discussion and debate from so many varying perspectives. All you see for the most part is fucking echo chamber after echo chamber after echo chamber after echo chamber. And even the times you see some dialogue or debate, it's people just representing both sides of the political divide, who typically still want to sustain the status quo and the established order of things and how things are done, how governance even works, right? People like myself who have actually a lot of really profound ideas that can probably help us get out from under this quagmire, we're not allowed to enter into the discourse or the dialogue or the debate. Once again, we're stuck at the proverbial back of the bus at the little, or the kids seat at the kids table. And yeah, that's not conducive with fucking creating a unifying nation or a unified nation. The very structure of our parliamentary system makes the kind of bottom-up reforms that are possible in the U.S. impossible to achieve in Canada. Before you sneer at those of us willing to seriously consider Trump's tongue-in-cheek idea, perhaps you might take a moment to try to understand why so many Canadians are receptive and what led us to lose faith in our country. I assure you, my willingness to consider Trump's idea of the 51st state is not something taken lightly. Your simple reduction of a complex issue to Canada versus Trump highlights a blindness of the real issues at stake. Yeah, this ain't fucking the Leafs versus the Canadians, man. Like, get out of this fucking stupid tribalist fucking, us versus them mentality and just start thinking critically about things once and for all. Please, my fellow Canadians, holy shit, please do this. Please. It's really important because in the absence of us speaking and conversing with each other and engaging in vigorous discussion or debates, well, what's left? Fight or flight, right? And I'm not fleeing anywhere, and nor am I looking for a fight, but I would like to fucking talk. Would really like to talk to the people who seem hell-bent on dominating, dictating, control every aspect of my social and economic lives. Yeah. Can we at least fucking talk about this? Right? When you see the young people in your life desperately scouring the globe for opportunities outside of Canada because they no longer see a future for themselves here, is that a system worth upholding and a flag worth fighting for? In that equation, to whom do you owe your allegiance? I'm from an immigrant family. I know the sacrifice and pain that accompanies leaving the old country behind. Building a new future in another country is not for the faint of heart. To see so many young people unable to envision a future in the country of their birth breaks my heart. I know full well the heartache they will face in distant lands as their ties to their homeland weaken, as they raise their children far from grandparents, as FaceTime replaces tea on a porch together, and as they are condemned to watch faraway parents suffering in old age, yet be too distant to provide support in the everyday trials of old age. That is the reality of what these young people are contemplating because of what Canada has become. Our country has shredded the unwritten social contract as the torch is passed between generations. Perhaps that is the biggest betrayal of all. Well said, well said. When you see so many friends and family in the process of fleeing these shores who have already left permanently because they could no longer afford to wait for reforms that never come, and to see so many around me terrified of facing old age in this broken country, is that a country worth preserving? When you see so many loved ones trapped in despair and depression, as everything they've spent a lifetime building is stripped away by the latest social engineering initiative, yet unable to defend themselves through a political system that essentially denies them a voice, is that a system that fuels pride for king and country? When you see your town fill up with homeless camps, drug addicts, and filth, and your culture slowly fade into a great uninspiring fog, and to be confronted daily with the powerlessness of not being able to do anything to stop it because at every turn we are shut out of the political system, humiliated and name-called for raising our voices, mocked by our leaders and our mainstream media, and utterly ignored by the political parties that claim to represent us, even as our money and our sovereignty is systemically frittered away on the world stage to signal the virtue and flatter the egos of our leaders. Does that make our flag a symbol worthy of pride and allegiance? Previous generations risked life and limb to defend our country from becoming what has become today. And yet here we are. I keep hearing people say, fight for your country. Why? A true patriot fights to protect his loved ones from that his country has become, not to preserve a rotting status quo that is destroying his loved ones and his community. So true. So true. Ironically, these people who are suddenly defending our sovereignty and culture are the same ones who have been spreading the hatred of our country, from land acknowledgements to unchecked and unassimilated mass migration and countless other points beside. I wonder if the real reason for their sudden patriotism is the constitutional reform or annexation would cut their taxpayer subsidized careers off from my tax dollars. Pigs at the trough, afraid that the trough will be taken away. Great observation, very astute and on point. I, like many others from immigrant families, worked hard to assimilate, to learn and internalize Canadian history and Canadian values, to build ties and put down roots in Canada in ways that honor the sacrifices made by previous generations who built what drew us to these shores. To see our post-national government encourage hatred of our culture, to see our government cater to those who go out of their way not to assimilate, to watch others import their ethnic conflicts into our streets. I think it might have been ethnic conflicts. To watch long-established immigrant communities suddenly feel unsafe in their own homes because of the hateful activism pursued by newer arrivals who are using Canada as a staging ground to continue ethnic wars raging in their home countries is a betrayal of both old stock and new and everything that Canadians once stood for. I cannot even begin to tell you how many immigrant families, the ones who truly value the vision that Canada once had of itself, are now actively making plans to leave Canada because they are afraid for themselves, their children, and their futures, and because they are disgusted that this country shows no willingness to uphold its own values. Those who still have strong ties to the old country are leaving the fastest. The exodus is growing by the day. My father once told me that what he loved most about this country is that a man in Canada is judged by what he builds with his own two hands and not by the last name inherited from his father. That, as an immigrant arriving in a small Canadian farming community, he could buy or sell an entire year's crop of cattle with no further guarantee than a handshake and the reputation he had built in his community. No more. That Canada is all but gone, replaced by tribalism, skin color, and DEI. I miss him, but I am relieved that he never had to see what became of the country that once welcomed him and gave him the courage to try and build something that he expected would last for generations. When his dreams came to an untimely end, our whole community rallied together to help us through those tough times, to help us with the harvest, and to watch over our family until we found our bearings without a strong father at the head of our family. If that sense of community doesn't mean something, I don't know what does. I don't care about a flag, but that community means the world to me. We built roots here. It took hard work on all sides to build the bridges that assimilated us into our broader community. These are my people. I would put my hands in the fire for them, as they have done for me. Do those living the laptop lifestyle who run our country, manage our corporations, and work in our media even know what that means? Flags can be changed, communities cannot. My allegiance is to whatever is best for my people, not to a system that best suits the grifters and power-hungry parasites in distant halls of power. It all leaves me speechless. How can a culture completely turn its back on everything it once stood for without any meaningful effort at self-preservation, all because a few pathetic losers have learned to weaponize empathy as a political strategy? Does this country even have a pulse? The course correction never comes. A culture of self-loathing, tribalism, and meaningless land acknowledgements is not the basis of a long-lived and unified nation. How many more generations should we stay trapped in this never-ending cycle of voting for the other guy to save us from the current guy, even as the country is stuck in a one-way ratchet taking us to some hollow destination, no matter who's in charge? Slowly, out of necessity and bitter experience, we are learning the true nature of the political system that underpins our nation. We are discovering the lack of real checks and balances, and that Canada, the people, and Canada, the political system, are two entirely different and often antagonistic things. And so we are looking for change for the sake of Canada, the people. The other nasty thing up there on Parliament Hill with that defunct flag hanging over it has to go. Our leaders in their utopian quest to centrally plan a better world have social engineered the destruction of our nation. It is no longer an anchor around which we can all rally, but through their thirst for power and plunder, they squandered the opportunity to build the greatest, freest, and most prosperous nation that ever could have lived. I see no path forward to reform this through the existing political system. They have no one to blame but themselves. You think this is about Trudeau and 9 years of destructive liberal rule? No. If we had a properly functioning system with proper checks and balances, what they did could never have reached such extremes. The last 9 years are merely a symptom of a much bigger problem that cuts to the heart of our parliamentary system. Maybe you've forgotten what our political system enabled. Pierre Elliott Trudeau to do to Canada in the 80s as he tried to impose his vision on the rest of us. You still can't mention his name in Alberta without someone spitting on the floor. Or maybe you've forgotten how Mulroney signed us up for this fraudulent climate crap, or how Harper endorsed it and participated in signing away slices of our sovereignty to one of the most corrupt and self-serving international organizations in the world. The whole thing has nothing to do with science, but everything to do with using fear to acquire lucrative research grants and weaponize fear as cover for the latest social engineering schemes. Don't believe me? I've meticulously documented both the politics and the fraudulent science in my latest book, Plunderers of the Earth, and how politics and bad land management, not CO2, are directly to blame for the environmental deterioration that so many of us are seeing right outside our doorstep. Read it, and maybe you'll understand one of the reasons why we hate the media so much. And maybe you've forgotten, why Federation. Sorry, folks, let me just take a little sip here. It's a long read, but it's a really good one. So just bear with me, folks. Just bear with me. And maybe you've forgotten why Confederation happened in the first place, to neutralize Quebec and the systemic effort by the Canadian government to erase and erode their culture in order to anglicize them until they turned to nationalism and self-defense, only to flush their integrity down the toilet as they learned how to play the federal system to their advantage instead of being a victim of it. I don't blame them. I've lived in Quebec for a brief time. They are not our enemies. Ottawa is. Ottawa sowed the seeds of the division, not Quebec. If the terms Les Nègres Blanches d'Amérique means anything to you from the upheaval that happened in Quebec in the 1960s, as they reached their breaking point, you'll understand how deep the bitterness runs in Quebec about being exploited for decades as low-wage serfs in their own country by their Eastern Anglo overlords. Or maybe you've also forgotten how Sir John A. Macdonald and his peers used the cozy relationship between government and corporations to milk farmers in the newly settled West by giving the CPR a monopoly on railway building and setting freight prices, which allowed them to suck every ounce of profit out of farmers with no other option to get crops to market, while using the power of the law to prevent farmers from building competing rail lines to access U.S. markets. Before Trudeau Sr. came along in the 80s, no other event produced a greater mass exodus of Canadians who fled their shattered dreams to rebuild their lives south of the border. That exodus is repeating itself today as one social engineering event follows another. Trudeau Jr. is not the root of the problem. He is the symptom of something deeper. Let me just see how much more we got here. Dang, that's a lot, but I think we can get through it. Okay. Or consider the failed residential school experiment as an example of how, when social engineering schemes go wrong, bureaucratic egos and inertia in government override the voice of those trying to point out problems. Our system lacks real political representation, and so the steamroller can continue for generations without a course correction, even as our media, with their cozy relationship to government, keep everyone in the dark out of fear of ruffling feathers with their government sponsors. And then when political winds change, silence was replaced with spin and weaponized lies to suit the social engineering agendas of the current age, while the cold and complex hard realities remain as deeply buried as ever. These lies are reopening wounds between our people that had begun to heal before woke activists and woke politicians and woke media weaponized it all and began to divide us once again. Or need I remind you of how a newly minted Canada used its raw power to forcibly absorb Manitoba and Saskatchewan into Confederation without asking those that lived there for permission or input, and how Canada initially tried to deny them representation in government in Ottawa and refused to recognize their land titles and their seigneurial system inherited from their French roots. Canada literally flooded their colonies with surveyors who trampled over their farms as Canada prepared to sell their lands out from underneath them to Eastern investors. Julius Ruechel and his peers tried to stand up for their community, got steamrolled, and when they finally felt pushed so far into a corner that their emotions got the better of them and things turned nasty, they hung them. Yet no government official ever paid a price for their role in the madness. Even today, it is a festering wound in the Métis community. Welcome to Canada, where everything is peachy until you stand in the way of the latest government agenda. Canada's history is one long, never-ending drama of social engineering schemes, even as the core issues never get addressed. Waves upon waves of Canadians left to pursue better lives south of the border, disillusioned by what was done to them by their government. But before social media, only their neighbors noticed. The tyranny of the experts, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I'm tired of building a future on a foundation that can be swept away at a moment's notice because some new Muppet rises to power and uses the absence of meaningful checks and balances to impose their vision on us and ignores our voices when we try to say no. In theory, the government has limits and we have rights guaranteed by our Constitution. In practice, it's a little more than an illusion. A right that is conditional upon government whim is a privilege, not a right. I'd use what happened during COVID as an example, but since you are a member of the mainstream media, I fear it would probably fall on deaf ears. And that's another thing, once again, folks, that's so profoundly important that we really need to start talking about is, yes, our Constitution, our Canadian Charter Bill of Rights, Section 1 and Section 33 basically makes it null and void and a useless document. That is something that we really, really, really need to get to the bottom of and start to change, bare minimally, before you think anything's going to actually change for the best in this country, or that your freedoms and liberties are ever going to be fully enshrined and protected. That is of paramount importance and something that has to be done. This is my home. My roots are here now. I will embrace any opportunity that comes my way to defend my loved ones and my community. Flags come and go. Communities do not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going anywhere either. Yes, I feel the same way. Not only is this my community that I live in now, but the roots of my family are here and they go back generations. So this community is my family. And yes, of course, I will stand in full defense and defend it to the best of my abilities for as long as I'm alive, because my family lives here. My family put roots down here. No amount of flag waving can change the fact that my home would be best served if it were part of a constitutional republic that offers my community protections and political representation that are wholly absent in Canada, and that the Canadian political system has been hell-bent on resisting given to its people through its 157-year history. If Canada is willing to give me those protections by scrapping the broken parliamentary system and turn itself into a republic, great. But I'm not holding my breath. If it takes Trump threatening to annex us to acquire those things, also great. I honestly don't care which way we arrive at real rights and real political representation, as long as we get there. I know the U.S. is also drowned in problems as generation after generation it slowly erodes the constitutional limits at the heart of their republic. But what if the idea of the 51st state is an opportunity to fix the problems plaguing both countries? A true great reset to convert Canada into what it should have been, but is not, and to reset America's republic closer to what its founding fathers intended: limited government, local autonomy, and a truly decentralized nation. We don't have to passively accept their current constitution. A merger requires opening the constitution. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for reform. What if, for the price of becoming one, we could fix the problems in two nations? Would you be interested? I've explained it in more detail in this thread. If after giving it some thought you decide it's not for you, perhaps you might at least add a Canadian flag to your bio. It adds credibility to your position. I, on the other hand, am getting the barbecue ready so I can give our American brothers and sisters a warm welcome when they arrive to liberate us. In all seriousness, though, if we wait for Parliament, this will never be resolved. It's up to us, the people, to drive this conversation. Maybe an earnest conversation between people with entirely different views about the future of our country would be a good place to start. Let's do what Parliament has lost the capacity to do and talk. Are you up for it? It's a genuine offer. Beautiful. Like I say, well done. Extremely well put out there. And as you can see, like that would have took some time. So kudos to you, Julius Ruechel. And I might be butchering your last name. I apologize for that. But good on you for this really, really excellent post that you put out there on X. Anyway, I was just going to check. See, I see they got another comment in there. Good morning, Rob Vincent, Maple Mega 199. Are you is that 199? Or are you a Travis Pastrana fan? I'm a big Travis Pastrana fan. Just out of curiosity with the 199. When I see the 199, I automatically think of Travis Pastrana. But anyways, thanks for joining the live stream. Really appreciate that. There's not much as I can see for comments there, and I probably won't keep this live stream going for too much longer anyways, folks. I just wanted to, like I say, I was already prepared to do the live stream, go on Jason Levine's show. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, so I figured, hey, what the heck, let's start our own little live stream and do cover a couple other little areas or subject matter that was kind of on the back burner. So I figured it was well worth doing. And since there's not a whole lot in terms of comments, I'll probably just tie this one up. But for those of you who are actually here and in the live stream, for now, until I do finish this one up, let me just say once again, I will get a chance to reschedule this with Jason Levine. And of course, just another reminder that I'm having the conversation with Bruce Party Sunday, January 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Really, really looking forward to that. And I'm going to be setting up a whole bunch more probably for February and kind of going from there. And who knows, maybe I'll reach out and talk with this Julius gentleman that I just read his post, see if he would like to come on the live stream, because apparently he's written some great books from what I can gather, and he's very, very good at writing based on what I've seen so far. So maybe I'll get a chance to have a conversation with him. But anyways, like I said, I really do appreciate all you folks that do have who did take the time out to check out this live stream. And like I say, I'd be more than willing to answer your questions if you had any, but since I'm not seeing a whole lot in the comments as now, then I'll probably just maybe hold off on that and answer some maybe I'll just do another live stream at some point in time in the future where it's just an AMA, right? Because I've noticed, and you folks are probably familiar yourself, that when I'm engaged in dialogue, when I'm having an interview in terms of a live stream, a lot of the times I don't quite pivot or focus on the comments because I try to remain hyper focused on my guest. Some people are better at putting themselves all over the place in a more seamless manner. I seem to be one of those kind of people that gets hyper focused, and that's an area where I kind of fail in that regard in terms of being able to put myself all over the place. And hey, that's just me showing some more of my fallibility, my imperfectness, right? It is what it is, folks. Anyways, like I say, really appreciate all you folks that did check out this live stream. Make sure if you do get a chance to share it with some other people, and I'll see you in the next one. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.